Hey, sixth graders, I want you to join me on page 830. We're going to start a new lesson today, lesson 3. Now, we had worked with words that were measures of center, right? Mean, median, mode. Those are all measures of what makes a typical number in a list, or measures of center. Today, we're going to move on to something new. As you can see on page 830, we're going to talk about measures of variation. These, instead of measuring what a typical number is like in a list, these measure how far the numbers are spread out or close together, how much they vary. You can hear that word in the word variation, right? So these are the words you're going to become familiar with today. Quartiles, okay, you can almost hear the word quarter in there, just like a quarter is 1/4 of a dollar. Quartiles divide your lists up into 4 parts, so we'll find those. So we're going to find the first and third quartiles, which is the lower middle number, and the upper middle number. We'll call them quartile 1 and quartile 3 with Q1 and Q3s, okay? Then we're going to find the interquartile range. That's when we subtract these two numbers that we just found. We'll show you how to do that, okay? And then we're going to also find the range, which is the biggest number minus the smaller number in a list, the smallest number in a list. So you're going to always line your numbers up in order again today, and then I'm going to show you how to find those 4 different things. Okay, look at example 1. This is on 831, I believe, or sorry, bottom of 830, okay? Look at example 1. Here were all the numbers that they were working with. Do you see how they put them in order? They did that right here, okay? Then they had to find all those different things. They found the median. Notice there was 2 numbers in the middle, right? Here's the 2 middle numbers. So they added them up and divided by 2. They got the median of 27.5. Okay, then they split the numbers in half. Do you see that? Right at the median. And they found the lower middle number. They called that quartile 1 or Q1. And they found the upper middle number, quartile 3 or Q3. So they found those 2 things. And remember, the interquartile range is when you subtract Q3, your upper middle number, minus Q1, your lower middle number. So they did that. They did 50 minus 8, and they got 42. So those are all their different measures that they got for the measures of variation. Let's try that. I want you to do got it number 1 with me, okay? We're going to find all the different measures of variation, okay, for got it number 1. And so we're going to find the range. I want you to list these all off with me. Okay, we're going to find the median. I'll remind you how to do all these. We're going to have you find the first quartile, the third quartile, and the interquartile range. Okay, those are the things that we're going to find today. So they're having you find a bunch of different things. You may use a calculator today. It's not going to be really useful for most problems, but if you need to, you may use one today. All right, first things first, we need to put our list of numbers in order. That's the most important thing to do first. So I think our smallest one that I see is 57, so let's put that first. Don't forget to show your list too. Oh, actually, I missed one, 56. Good thing we're crossing out. There we go. 56, 57. 58 we have next. Okay. Next lowest, we've got a 59. We've got a 60, it looks like. We've got a 61. We've got a 62. We've got a 64. We've got a 67. And we've got a 71. Now, since I was crossing out, I know I used them all. Okay, our range. Remember, our range is our biggest number minus our smallest number for this first one right here. Okay, so here's our biggest number. Here's our smallest number, 71 and 56. So we'll take 71 minus 56. I'll do a little bit of borrowing here. 11 minus 6 is 5, and 6 minus 5 is 1. So our range is 15. Okay, so we got our first one. Our median, our middle number. I'll use my green marker here to put dots until we get to our middle, right? Keep putting dots on each side. And, ooh, we got 2 middle numbers this time. So we have to add them up and divide by 2, right? So let's do that. 60 plus 61 gives us 121. 121 divided by 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Bring down our 1. Doesn't go in at all, so we got to put a decimal and an extra 0. It goes in 5 times. So there's our median, 60.5. We had 2 middle numbers. Okay, when you have 2 middle numbers, just split your whole list down the middle of those 2, just like we did there. Now let's find our lower middle number. That's our quartile 1. And our upper middle number, that's our quartile 3. Do you see how 58 is our lower middle number because it has 2 on each side? It's the middle one of the lower numbers. So that's our quartile 1. Okay, what's our quartile 3? Do you see how it's 64 right here? Because it's got two numbers below it and two numbers above it. That's the middle upper number, okay? So remember, quartile 1 is the middle lower number once you divide your whole list in half at the median, okay? And quartile 3 is your middle upper number. So remember, interquartile range, IQR for short, is where we take our quartile 3 minus our quartile 1. So let's do that. 64 minus 58. Got to borrow. 14 minus 8 is 6. There we go. We've got all the measures of variation. So one more time. Range is the biggest minus the smallest. Median you already know how to find. That's your middle number, or your two middle numbers added up and divided by 2, right? Your quartile 1 is your lower middle number. That was this middle one right here in the lower half. Your quartile 3 is your upper middle number. That's the middle one of your upper half. And your interquartile range is taking these two numbers minus each other, right? So there you go. Your book then is going to talk to you about outliers. Outliers are numbers that are too big or too small for a list, and they're going to throw off all your numbers if you keep them in there. For instance, if I'm a basketball player and I score 2 points, 4 points, 6 points, then my whole team gets sick. So I'm the only player, so I have to score all the points for my team, and then I score 40 points. This is called an outlier. It's this number that really doesn't fit with all the other numbers. And so in a regular basketball game, I wouldn't really score 40 points. That in my teammates would help me out more than that. So that number really kind of throws off my whole list. It messes it up. It doesn't really show me what a typical score is for us, so we would get rid of it. That's what you usually do with outliers. And numbers that don't make sense, or maybe they're in there by mistake, and they throw off the whole list. So we're going to teach you a test today that you can do to solve if a number is an outlier or not. Because sometimes you're like, well, that's a little bit big, but that's not a really huge outlier, or it's not really much different than the rest of the list. So we're going to teach you a test. Here's the test. First of all, you find the interquartile range. Remember how we did that? We took the middle upper number minus the middle lower number, okay? Then, so that's step 1. You find this, okay? Step 2, you take that interquartile range that you found times 1.5, okay? And then step 3, okay? You take this answer that you get plus the third quartile, and you take it away from the first quartile. You add it to the middle upper number, and you take it away from the middle lower number. And if you have a number that's bigger than this, you get rid of it. It's an outlier. If you have a number that's lower than this, you get rid of it. That's an outlier, okay? So I know that's a lot to take in. I'll take you through that in a little bit slower steps, okay? But we're going to try out in this. We'll just go right to the got it one, and we're going to see if there's an outlier in this list. Take a look. Here's our list. I'm going to rewrite it down here bigger so you can see it. It says the lengths and feet of various bridges. Notice how they already have them in order for us. I see a couple on there that I might think are outliers, numbers that really don't fit in the list. Do you see a couple? I'm wondering if this is maybe a lot lower than all the others, and this one too seems to be a lot bigger than all the others. So we're going to do our test. We're going to see if we should get rid of any of those, if they're really truly outliers. So if I follow our steps, I'm going to circle step 1 up here. First things first, we need to find our interquartile range, okay? So let's find our median first. Here's our median. I'll put it in green. Here's our middle number, right? So our median is 275. So we need to find the middle lower number and the middle upper number. Do you see how I have two numbers in the low and two numbers in the high? So I don't really have a middle number, so I need to add those two numbers up and divide by 2. I said you could use your calculator today to do that. So let's do that. So notice in the bottom, I don't have any middle number down here. So I have to take the two middle numbers and add them up and divide by 2. So here we go. 88 plus 251 equals that divided by 2. So my quartile 1, my middle lower number is 169.5. Okay, write that down. Now let's find our third quartile. That's our middle upper number. I don't have a middle number. I have two middle numbers, right? So I have to add them up. 354 plus 1121 and divide by 2 equals divided by 2. So there's my third quartile, 737.5. Okay. Now step 2. Now that we have our step 1, then we have to get our interquartile range. We're going to subtract those two, right? Remember, that's how we get our interquartile range. So here we go. 737.5 minus 169.5. There we go. Gives us 568. So our interquartile range, our upper middle number minus our lower middle number gives us that, okay? Now remember, step 2 up here. we should take that times 1.5, okay? Times 1.5. Here we go. We get 852. Okay, this last step, step 3, we should add that to quartile 3, and we should subtract that away from quartile 1. Okay, so we're going to add it to quartile 3. 852 plus 737.5. That gives us 1,589.5. So if any numbers are bigger than that, we should get rid of them. Do we have any numbers bigger than that? We don't. Okay, so now we're going to subtract this away, this 852 away from quartile 1. Here's quartile 1. So 169.5 minus 852. We're going to get like this huge negative number. Do we have any numbers smaller than that huge negative number? No way. So are there any outliers in this set? There are none. There are no outliers in this set. So you would say none. Because none of our numbers are bigger than that, and none of our numbers are smaller than that. There are none. Okay? Now, I don't want you to get too worried about this outlier thing yet. It's actually not going to show up on the assignment itself today. But in a future assignment, they're going to have us do this. So I want you to at least understand a little bit about how we find these, and we'll work with them more in a future lesson, okay? So if that doesn't make full sense yet, hopefully it's clicking a little bit, but if it doesn't make full sense, that's okay. All right, take a look at example 3. Example 3 is on the bottom of 831. Sometimes they're going to have you compare the different units or measures of variation between two groups. So they'd have you do room 1, or room A, and room B. So you would find all the measurements for room A. Do you see how they did that? They found the range by taking the biggest minus the smallest. They found the median. There were 2 middle numbers, so they added them up and divided by 2. Or no, sorry, there was only one middle number. Then they found the upper middle number, the middle upper number, and the middle lower number, and then they subtracted them and got the IQR, the interquartile range, right? And then they did that for the other room too. Do you see that? Then they were able to compare. They were able to say, oh, look, their range is the same. Their median is about the same too. One difference, right? Their upper middle numbers are about the same. Their lower middle numbers are almost identical. And their range between their upper and lower middle numbers are almost the same. So you could say these rooms are just so similar. So that notice we were able to compare them. They're about the same amount spread apart because these are measures of variation. Okay, let's try this ourselves. We're going to do got it letter C. This is on the top of page 832. I want you to do this one with me. We're going to compare these two cities and their average temperatures for these months, okay? So let's do Antelope, Montana first. Here it is. Antelope is an interesting name. So first things first, we need to put them in order, right? So let's do that. 21. Oh, 30. Okay. 42. 58, 70, and 79, okay? Now we're going to find all their different measurements. Remember the things that we find each time? Our range, median, quartile 1, quartile 3, and our interquartile range, right? Okay, let's do that for this first city first. Here we go. Does it have a middle number? It doesn't. It has 2 middle numbers, right? So we're going to add them up and divide by 2. 42 plus 58 gives us 10 and 100. Well, I know 100 divided by 2 is 50, so our median is 50. How do we find our range? Remember, we take the biggest minus the smallest, so let's do that. And we get 58. Okay. By the way, let's label this as Antelope, because that's the name of this city. So remember which stack is which, okay? Now, remember, we divide our list in half at the median. So since we had 2 middle numbers, we'll divide it right between the two, right? So what's our lower middle number? There it is right there, right? And what's our upper middle number? There it is right there. So what's our interquartile range? Remember, we take the upper middle number minus the lower middle number, 70 minus 30, and we get 40. All right, we're done with that first city. Time to do city number 2 so we can compare them. We'll call this one Augusta, Maine, okay? And we'll make our list. Remember, we're going to find the range. We're going to find the median. We're going to find the lower quartile and the upper quartile and the interquartile range. All right. So we got to put them in order again, right? So first things first, let's do that. 28, 32, 41. You know what? I think they're kind of in order already. That's cool. 53, 66 and 75, all in order. Sweet. This is a 53 here. All right. Let's find our range, our biggest minus our smallest. 75 minus 28. 15 minus 8 is 7. 6 minus 2 is 4. So there's our range. What's our median? Notice we have two middle numbers again, so we're going to add them up and divide by 2. I get 4 and 9. So we're going to do 94 divided by 2. 4 times 2, is 8. And 7 times 2 is 14. So their median is about 47. Okay, if I split it in half, what's our lower middle number? Our quartile 1. 32, right? What's our upper middle number? Right here, 66. And so if I take 66 minus 32, our upper middle number minus our lower middle number, I get 34. So now we can compare them, right? You can say antelope has a bigger range of temperatures, doesn't it? If I compare the ranges. The medians are pretty similar, so their middle temperatures are pretty similar, only 3 apart. Their lower middle numbers are pretty similar, only 2 apart, right? Their upper middle numbers, the antelope upper middle number is about 4 higher, right? And their interquartile range, you can say that antelope has a bigger difference between the upper and lower middle numbers than Augusta does, right? By about 6. And so now we were able to compare them. So you'll have one today where you'll be comparing actually NFL teams. Micah's going to like that one. Okay, let's do a few right out of our work because I know this is brand new, okay? And so we're going to do just a few together today. So we'll do a lot of your assignment right with me. So follow along and show all the work that I do, like lining up all your numbers. So notice number 1, here's the number of golf courses in all these different states. So before we can answer all these questions, we got to put them in order. So find a spot on your page where you can put them in order. Here we go. Our lowest one is 437. Okay, our next lowest one looks like it's 456. Our next lowest one looks like it's 513. Our next lowest one looks like it's 650. Our next lowest one looks like it's 893. Our next lowest one looks like it's 954. Our next lowest one looks like it's 1018. Next, 1038. Next, 1117. And last, 1465. Okay, so now we can answer the questions. Look at letter A. Find the range. So we're going to take the biggest minus the smallest. So our biggest one, 1465 minus 437. To do a little borrowing, 15 minus 7 is 8. 5 minus 3 is 2. That's all we can do because we get 1. And then 0. So 1028 is the range, isn't it? Okay. All right. And then find the median and the first and third quartile. So I want you to run letter B to go like this. Median, leave some space, quartile 1 and quartile 3. Okay. The median's our middle number, so I'll use a blue marker here. Let's put dots on both sides till we work our way to the middle. Here we are. And we got 2 middle numbers, don't we? So remember what to do when we have 2 middle numbers. We add them up and we divide by 2. So let's do that. We get 7, 14, and 18 there. Okay, so 1847 divided by 2. 9 times 2 is 18. Bring down your 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Bring down your 7. 3 times 2 is 6. We're out of numbers, so we'll add a 0. Sorry, not there. We'll add a 0 right here and pull it down. And we have 10. So 923.5 is what I'm getting for the median. Checking my book, that's correct. So put 923.5. Okay, remember when we had 2 middle numbers, then we split it right between those 2 middle numbers? What's the middle lower number? Our quartile 1. Can you see that this is the middle lower number? 513. What's the middle upper number? Right here, 1038. Okay, so find the interquartile range. Do you remember how we do that? We take this upper middle one minus the lower middle one. So let's do that. 1038 minus 513. 8 minus 3 is 5. 3 minus 1 is 2. We got to borrow a little bit. 10 minus 5 is 5. So I'm getting 525. for our interquartile range. Do we have any outliers? I guess we do have an outlier question. I didn't think this was going to happen. So good thing we're doing this one together. Remember, to do the outlier, we take this interquartile range times 1.5. So let's do that. I'm just going to pull up my calculator off to the side here again. You won't be able to see it, but I'm doing 525 times 1.5. I'm getting 787.5. Now remember, I add this to quartile 3, and I subtract it away from quartile 1, okay? So I'll add it to quartile 3. So I'm going to add it to 1,038, and I'm getting 1,825. Is there any numbers in our list bigger than 1,825? Nope. I'm also going to subtract this number away from quartile 1. Quartile 1, do you see it as 513? So you're going to know if I take 513 minus this big number, 787.5, I'm going to get a negative number. In fact, I get negative 274. Do we have any negative low numbers in our list? No. So are there any outliers? There are none. The outlier test proves that. And you can even see that there's no number that's way bigger than all the other numbers, and there's no number that's way smaller. So none. That's the answer to number 1. Okay, I want to do one more for the first section here. I want you to take a look. They want you to find the median, the first quartile, the third quartile, and the interquartile range for 2 and 3. So watch out. They want all those pieces of information, okay? So here we go. Let's list those off before we forget what they want. I would do the same on yours. Median, the first quartile, the third quartile, and the interquartile range. You can put that as IQR, okay? Here we go. So first things first, we have to put them in order. They are not in order. So here we go, putting them in order. I'm crossing them off as we go. Do the same. 12, right? Our next lowest one looks like it's 19. Then I think 24, 26, 31, 38, 53. All right. We need to see if we've got a middle number. Do we? We can work our way towards the middle if you'd like. And yes, we do. There's our middle number. So our median this time is 26, okay? Now, when you have just one middle number, remember how when we had 2 middle numbers, we drew a line down the middle and then we split our list in half? When you just have one middle number, you're just going to ignore that number and look at the bottom 3 numbers and the top numbers. So what's the lowest, the middle low number? Do you see how it's right here? It's 19, right? And what's the middle high number? Do you see it right there? It's going to be 38, okay? And so remember our last thing, the interquartile range, we take this one, quartile 3 minus quartile 1, the upper middle number minus the lower middle number. So 38 take away 19. Got to borrow a little bit, and we get 19 for our interquartile range. So number 3, you'll do exactly like that, all right? I'm going to have you do that one on your own. Here's number 3, just a reminder to list off all those things that you need, okay? So put median down. Quartile 1, your lower middle number, quartile 3, and your interquartile range. I'm going to have you do that one on your own, but just wanted you to remember to list those things off. I want you to just peek at number 5, okay? It just says use the measures of variation, okay? When it says that, you're going to find, put these down, you're going to find the range, okay? Don't forget that one, okay? You're going to find the median, so I'll put that one right here. You do the same. Okay, remember the range is the biggest minus the smallest. You're going to find the median. You're going to find the lower quartile, the lower middle number, the upper quartile, the upper middle number, and the interquartile range, okay? I'm going to let you do number 5. So put all of these in order and then find those 5 things, all right? Don't forget about any of those. Okay, then we're going to do just one of number 13, okay? Notice number 13, you've got the NFC, the National Football Conference, and the AFC. These are the 2 different conferences in the NFL. So these are separate lists. Careful. Don't put these together, okay? Then they want you to compare them. Okay, so we're going to do lists of both. I'm going to help you with one, and then you're going to do the other on your own, okay? And then you're going to compare them. So notice you're going to find the measures of variation for each. So what I want you to do is split this one in half. Put NFC here, AFC there, and they want the measures of variation. So range, right, you're going to find your median, you're going to find your quartile 1, leave a little space, quartile 3, and your interquartile range. Do the same for the AFC. You're going to find your median, you're going to find your range, you're going to find your lower quartile, your upper quartile, and your interquartile range, okay? And then notice on letter C, you're going to compare. Just compare them. Say which one has the bigger range, which one has the bigger median, and so on, okay? So we're going to do the NFC because that has the Green Bay Packers, and I love the Green Bay Packers. You will then do the AFC on your own, okay? So let's do the NFC, and that'll help you do the AFC, and then you can compare them on your own. So the NFC, we need to put in order. So let's do that. Just this left list right here, okay? So the lowest one I see for the NFC is 59. So let's cross that out. The next highest one is 68. Okay, the one after that is 77. And then 86. And then 104. And then 113. And 137. Okay, you'll do the same for the AFC later, okay? Do we have a middle number? Looks like we do, because if I put dots on both sides, notice I'm going to end up with this one as my middle. So that's my median. So I'm going to put that for the NFC. Remember to fill it out like I did, okay? The range, okay, that's the biggest minus the smallest. 137 minus 59. So let's do that. Got to do a little borrowing here. 17 minus 9 is 8. Got to borrow again. 12 minus 5 is 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. So 78 is the AFC's range. Notice you'll use that for when you're answering letter A on your own. Which conference had the bigger range? These are the number of penalties teams had, okay? So don't forget to answer letter A when you're done with the AFC. And then don't forget to do letter C where you're going to compare all this stuff, okay? All right, let's find the lower quartile. Quartile 1, the middle lower number. Do you see how that's right here? There's our middle lower number. So let's put that in for the NFC. Quartile 1 is 68. And then quartile 3 is the middle upper number. Do you see how it's that one? That's the middle of the upper numbers above our circle number. So 113. So what's our interquartile range? You might have to squeeze your numbers like I'm doing a little bit. You're going to take your middle upper number minus your middle lower number. Okay, so we borrow here. 13 minus 8 is 5. Got to borrow again. 10 minus 6 is 4. So our interquartile range, maybe you have to put it down here like I do, is 45, okay? You're going to do the same with the AFC like we just did for the NFC. Use these numbers right here, okay? Put them in order. Find your median range, your lower middle number, your upper middle number, and your interquartile, and then don't forget to answer C and A. They're going to ask you some questions about what you found, okay? Hopefully that gets you off to a good start. Notice on number 14 again, I'm just going to have you list these off so you don't forget any of them. They want you to find the median, the first quartile, the third quartile, and the interquartile range. So don't forget to put these numbers in order. Okay, you can do that maybe below. And then don't forget those 4 things. Then I just wanted to point out on the last page, notice you're dividing. I do expect to see your work. Don't punch these ones into a calculator. Okay, I do expect to see this. I'll do the first one with you. 3 times 5 is 15, right? Bring down your 0. And 2 times 5 is 10. I should see that work. So there's your first one, right? On each problem. Okay, only using the calculator on your new problems for today, okay, and your mean problems from the other day, right? Otherwise, they still want you to practice this. Notice this question asks how much farther and how many more on 24. Whenever you're asked how much farther or how much more, do you know what kind of math you're going to do? For both 23 and 24, I'll put a minus sign next to these. You're going to subtract, right? Like if I had 8 oranges and my brother had 4, and I wanted to know how many more I'd have, I'd do 8 minus 4. 4. I have 4 more oranges than my brother does, right? So careful. Number 23 and 24, read them carefully. Will both be subtraction problems. Hopefully that gets you off to a really good start. We did quite a few together, guys. If you need help, don't be afraid to contact me or watch parts of the video again. Have a good day, guys.